Well, hello everyone. I am Matt Williamson. Please follow me on X and my new YouTube channel at Williamson NFL for both. I'm trying to boost the YouTube thing going on. It's working out well. Like interacting with you guys there with this podcast as well. Check that out, please. Today we are going to, well, first of all, you and I have talked quite a bit and did a pretty extensive podcast last week on the Steelers defense is a heavy base or dime team. Very low in the league in nickel, very high in those other two. And I think one of their offseason goals needs to be more nickel friendly, more adaptable in their nickel package, which means better coverage linebackers, better middle of the field play in general. I know injuries hit linebackers and safeties really hard last year, of course, and it would have been a little different because it was promising, like with Alexander, Holcomb, and Roberts all healthy. I always thought the second safety, third safety situation was below average, to say the least, but Minka is a star, but he missed some time too. So what we're going to talk about today, free agency's right around the corner. I mean, right around the corner. And I don't know how aggressive they'll be the first couple days. Usually aren't. Usually that's when bad decisions happen in free agency across the league. But there have been a lot of linebackers and safeties cut the last couple days that are very interesting. I thought those pools were very interesting to begin with. Safety almost always provides value in terms of free agency shopping. Linebackers a little more hit and miss. I mean, the linebacker landscape now, if you look at like the top half dozen or so, they're very expensive. The Roquans, those type of guys. And the Steelers are not going to be shopping in that neighborhood. But you can still get quality play. Then there's a big drop off in contracts. Then you can get quality guys, $6 million, $8 million, maybe less, especially if the market's flooding a little bit or you wait for that tidal wave of free agency to pass first and foremost. And then you kind of pick at the leftovers, which I think should still be quite good. So we are going to talk about those two positions in free agency. And I like a lot of names there. I'm going to throw a lot of names at you. And I'm betting here on March 7th that at least two names I mentioned today will be Steelers from other teams at linebacker and or safety. BetOnline continues to be your number one source for all your basketball wagering needs, including pro and college hoops throughout the year. With up-to-minute odds, stats, and trends, you can follow your favorite teams past the playoffs with in-game live betting, contests, and all the best player props. Experience the world's best wagering platform anytime from your desktop or your mobile devices. Head to BetOnline today to become part of the team, and remember to use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, the game starts here. These lists are ever-changing because guys like Jerome Baker from Miami just got cut. And I kind of want to start with him. He's very attractive to me because, Buffalo's cutting a ton of people, but this looks like they're going to sign Mitch Trubisky today. I mean, why does that happen? Because the Steelers cut Trubisky. He doesn't count in that free agency world, so you can go get those dudes now. Same is true for Baker. Baker's getting cut because Miami has awful salary cap situation. They're going to lose more than they gain. I think the Dolphins are going to take a noticeable step backwards next year, and they still haven't paid Tua. Totally different story. To no fault of Baker's. They signed him to too big a deal, and they max out their credit cards. So Baker is now on the market, and I think the Steelers should really be interested in him. I think you could probably get him on a 1-year prove-it deal, maybe a 2-year deal at a lesser rate than what he paid for. I'm thinking like $15 million over 2 years, maybe a little more. But he's exactly what you look for. They have great Ohio State ties. I got the impression they liked him a lot when he came out of school. He's not old. He's very intriguing to me, to be honest with you. And not just because he's out there now. He's only 27. I want to double check that. But he's the run and hit guy that if you protect him pretty well is okay versus the run, but excels in coverage, leadership stuff, green dot type of guy. So that news really made me start thinking about doing this podcast because he's kind of near my top of the list all of a sudden. There's still a lot of linebackers out there, though. Last year was better, but Jordan Brooks is 26 years old, former first-round pick of Seattle. I get the impression they want to make wholesale defensive changes, and maybe they want to bring in Patrick Queen, who's going to be the most expensive, with Baltimore's defensive coordinator taking over as the head coach in Seattle. I think Queen isn't worth the money, to be honest with you. I think he's going to try to get Roquan-like money and might just get it from a desperate type team. That doesn't appeal to me, but if that leaves Brooks to then be the quote consolation prize, that's one of my favorite gets for the Steelers. Frankie Louvu's a really good player, but I don't think he's the mold you want. I think the mold of linebacker they're looking for are more play in space, coverage guys, take away the middle of the field much better than they have in the passing game. Louvu's more of a downhill thumper, really good pass rusher. I think Levante David will return to the Bucs. Bobby Wagner, both those guys are 34. I mean, a one-year deal, it doesn't really excite me. Azeez Al-Shahir is a name you need to know. He's a little more downhillish than he is, playing in reverse, but he's still only 27. He has very good speed. I thought he was a good player for the Titans last year, and I liked him quite a bit, to be honest with you, last year when he was in free agency. Andrew Van Ginkel doesn't really fit. He's a good player, but he's more of an edge type Van Noy guy. So he's on the list, but I don't really get too excited about him. I'm sure some of you have seen Devin White on this list. I talk a lot about linebackers that it takes them a long time to mentally mature. And maybe you're getting him at a cheap time where he's starting to mature, but he got benched basically last year as the season went on. He misses a lot of tackles. I hate the term instincts, but his awareness and reading ability is poor, but boy, he's got tools. He's a frustrating guy for me. I think I would shy away, and he's going to want a lot more money than he's probably worth. Josie Jewell is a very safe double, leadoff walk. I mean, he's not super athletic, but he has a great feel for the game. I think I would want a better space player than him. One of my favorites is Terrell Dodson from the Bills, who also have massive cap problems. They're cutting people left and right. He's 26 years old, really ascending, plays in space. He's absolutely one of my favorite targets. Drew Tranquil is another one. He's 29, but you know what you're getting. Solid player. Would have been very useful here a year ago. Blake Cashman is very similar. They're both a little undersized, smart, coming off very good years, a little older than you'd like, but it's okay. Willie Gay from the Chiefs, one of the best athletes on this list, starting to come into his own. They had such good linebacker play there. They had 4 good ones that they rotated him quite a bit, but I mean, he would spy Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, and you might be getting him at his best point too at 26 years old. I think he's going to ask for a fair amount, but it might be worth it, and he may be your answer there. There's some other names: Shaq Leonard, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, that have been around the block, but I think a lot of those are sort of damaged goods at this point, and I've been looking for somebody younger than that. So, time to talk safeties. This list, and I'm sure there's some names there you're like, who's Josie Jewell play for? Williamson, Denver, but there's probably some of these safeties you're not going to really know who they are. But the fact that I'm going to name a bunch of them, I think should be appealing to you, and I'll tell you what I do know about them, thumbnail these guys. But this safety market is very team-friendly. Kyle Duggar's been transition tagged. That's a $13.8 million hit. And Antoine Winfield's been franchise tagged. That's a $17.2 million hit. They're not going to be Steelers. Really good players, but they're not going anywhere. Xavier McKinney's not going to be a Steeler. He's 25. He's exactly what you'd want. I mean, highly versatile, but he's going to be very expensive. And then after that, I think you start to look at a neighborhood where there's plenty of options here. Jeremy Chin fell out of favor, but he was a really high pick. He's a lot like Duggar. It was a great tester out of a small school. Be a near the line of scrimmage guy / pseudo linebacker, maybe a tight end matchup guy. I'd love to see him in the Steeler uniform. Geno Stone is from around here. My hunch is he's going to get overpaid after taking the ball away as much as he did. And I mentioned Seattle for Queen. I mean, Seattle just cut 2 safeties. Could he just be following this defensive coordinator, Seattle? But he's a good player. I just think he's probably going to get paid too much. Micah Hyde's out there now, but he's 33. He's one of the recent Bills cuts. CJ Gardner-Johnson is extremely appealing to me. 26. To say he's a big personality is mild. I mean, he fights with teammates. I mean, he's that hockey player, the third line guy that is agitating the stars all the time. But he's good. And I think you could probably get him at somewhat of a discount. He's very slot capable. He plays all over the defense. Tell Tomlin to manage him. That's why you have coaches. But he's 26. That's still one of the best players on this list. Pitt guy, Jordan Whitehead, is 27. He also could do a lot for you. I would have no problems with him coming back to Pittsburgh. Cam Curl is 25. He was franchised a year ago by the Commanders. I think he's going to make double digits, 10 plus, and I don't think he's quite worth that. So I think I would be out on that one. Jordan Fuller is appealing. Julian Blackmon is one of my absolute favorite targets from the Colts, only 26 years old. Do-it-all safety, ascending, good athlete. The same is true for Alohi Gilman. I'm sure none of you guys have ever heard of him. He's a Charger. He was a late-round pick. Great season, and he has gotten better and better and better. He plays really hard. There's some names like Kevin Byard. He's 31. Darnell Savage, 27, was kind of adverse to tackling, but there was weird things going on that Packer defense last year, kind of like the Steeler offense, where I think none of them had any respect for the coordinator. But I think he'll probably leave. I mentioned that Seattle cut 2 safeties. Adams, you would know. Jamal Adams, vastly overrated, but if you could get him super cheap on a 1-year deal and basically treat him like a linebacker, I would have some interest. Nothing like what Seattle paid him, but his partner, Quandre Diggs, is the better player. He's 31. He could do a lot for you. Another 31-year-old that's had a good career is Marcus May. He's no longer a Saint because they have massive cap problems. Deshaun Elliott is 27 years old. He's out there. Rashawn Jenkins from the Jags just got cut. He's 30 years old. So that's my list. I mean, that's a long list. And I, again, pretty firmly believe two of the names we talked about today will be Steelers. Maybe not on day 1 of free agency. It might be this time next week. I mean, the tidal wave of free agency lasts like 30 hours, maybe 48. And then it calms a little. And then there's another big wave. And then the third wave, starts to become very team friendly. So there will be names in the third wave. There will definitely be names in the second. I don't know that you shop in either one of these neighborhoods in the first. And there'll be a couple of those names. Julian Blackmon, I got all excited about. But some team will give him $7 million when I thought he was going to get $5 million. Okay, maybe we never were in on that one. And that's the way free agency works. But then you sit back and you pick off those lists I mentioned, and you get better in the middle of the field. You hopefully play more nickel. So I hope this was, good for you guys. Free agency is really going to be my key. Probably record one more before free agency. Maybe we'll talk about those centers a little bit, some other spots, or, big name stuff going on, what's going on with Fields and Cousins, etc. But then next week, they're going to be popping left and right. So one of my favorite times of the year. Take care. Over and out.